Ancient Rome versus modern-day Los Angeles, the Stoics versus the New Thinkers, two worlds, two languages, one burning question. What is wealth, and how do you actually create it? Was Seneca right to warn us that wealth can enslave the soul? Or was Neville Goddard right to declare that wealth is yours the moment you dare to assume it? Stay with me, because by the end, you'll see how their wisdom collides and where it aligns, and how it can completely reshape the way you think about money, manifestation, and mindset. Seneca begins with a sharp warning. Wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants. Notice the setup. It's either possessions or few wants, but you can't have both. That means wealth is not measured by what you own, but by what you can live without craving. He presses the point further. It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more, that is poor. In other words, poverty isn't measured by lack of money, but by endless hunger. The man with little but no craving is wealthy. The man with plenty but constant craving is destitute. Seneca gives us two insights that cut to the core. Wealth is relative, and wealth doesn't guarantee happiness. And yet let's not ignore the irony. This wasn't written by a penniless monk. This was Seneca, tutor to an emperor, one of the wealthiest men in Rome. How could the richest man in the empire preach wanting less? Perhaps because he knew from experience that without wisdom, money poisons. Then he drops a heavier line. If you shape your life according to nature, you will never be poor. If according to opinion, you will never be rich. According to nature, for Seneca, meant living in harmony with essentials, simplicity, work, virtue, contribution. A life you could repeat endlessly without boredom. According to opinion meant status games, comparison, chasing the world's approval. And if that's your measure, you'll never be satisfied, no matter how much you earn. For Seneca, real wealth was sufficiency, virtue, and self-control. Money wasn't evil, but worshipping it was dangerous. Now jump forward to Neville Goddard, standing in New York, teaching the law of assumption. He declares, claim it. Assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled. Live as though it were already yours. Where Seneca says want less, Neville says want differently. Where Seneca says reduce desire, Neville says fulfill it in imagination. Neville pushes further. Dare to believe in the reality of your assumption and watch the world play its part to fulfill it. This is not casual advice, it's a dare. He isn't suggesting you daydream about wealth. He's telling you to embody it until reality bends. For Neville, wealth is not money in your hand, but a state of being. He writes, to be rich is not to have money, but to have the state of richness. Assume it, and wealth must follow. Money is a tool, but wealth is an inner condition. Adopt the state, and money comes as a byproduct. He expands this through one of his core principles. As within, so without. What is your dominant thought? If you assume lack, you manifest lack. If you assume wealth, you manifest wealth. To Neville, assumption creates manifestation. So where do Seneca and Neville clash? Seneca warns that desire enslaves. Neville insists that desire, when assumed as fulfilled, frees. Seneca says craving more makes you poor. Neville says assuming more makes you rich. One tells you to cut desire at the root. The other tells you to transform desire into belief. And yet both point to the same battlefield, the inner world. Seneca attacks the endless hunger of craving. Neville attacks the endless doubt of disbelief. Both agree that chasing money as the source of happiness is misguided. Both agree that wealth starts inside first and only then shows up in the world. So who's right? The answer depends on where you begin. If you're consumed by desire, Seneca's wisdom will free you by teaching sufficiency. If you already live by faith, Neville's wisdom will expand you by teaching manifestation. Two paths, one truth. Seneca whispers, wealth is freedom from desire. Neville insists, wealth is assuming desire fulfilled. Together, they reveal the same secret. Your inner stance decides your riches. Wealth is not just money, it's a mindset, a vibration, a philosophy of life. Crave less, and you are rich in spirit. Assume more, and you are rich in manifestation. Either way, wealth begins in the mind and ends in the world you create. So the real question is this. When you think about money, are you craving from lack or assuming from fullness? Your answer might decide the course of your life. So what do you think? You agree with Seneca that craving wealth makes us poorer? Or do you side with Neville's teaching that assuming wealth brings it into being? Can the two philosophies actually be combined, or do they stand in opposition? And most importantly, how do you define wealth in your own life? Sufficiency or assumption? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to hear which path you'd choose and why. And remember, Found Teachings 111.